Come on.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the only podcast produced by three two-time winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. You're tuned into the Check Engine Podcast. We're hosted on Anchor.fm and streamed worldwide on all the platforms that you use to listen to your favorite podcasts. Nick, Andrew, and Tristan are back for the first time in 2022. Happy New Year, fellas.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Strong out of the gates.
shaking the rust off a little bit.
Well, I thought I was doing like some kind of cool, like we're
Cold
back thing.
start.
No, we're just back though. We're just back.
We're here. We're back.
Yeah.
Are we better than ever? Or
I would say we're probably slightly behind where we were when we left.
It's like kids after summer vacation.
Exactly, a backsliding.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. It's gonna take us. Stick with us, folks. It's gonna take us a couple of these to get back into the swing of things. For instance, up until the point when we turned the microphones on, we had no idea what we were going to talk about. We just knew we needed to get back.
Well,
on
no. In
top of
fairness, I had an
lots
idea.
Of things we could talk about,
and I had an idea, but it was just I failed to actually get it to the execution phase. And the one thing, I mean, as you may know, if you listen to podcasts, even outside of ours, the one thing you cannot do on a podcast is play other people's music. And this episode was something that solely depended on playing other people's music. And I did not think of that until I almost did it. So here we are with nothing to talk about except what we did on our winter vacations.
So for the first time this year, we'll say it. We're not pros. Mark it down one. So we're gonna talk about just shit and whatever, what we did.
way to sell it.
That's right. Well, I spend all day selling. That's my job.
That's true. It's true.
Let me take a break from that every once in a while. No, we're going to talk about
you can't turn it off. Can't turn it off.
We're going to talk about what we did since we last had the microphones turned on. We're going to talk about some of the more recent news stuff, maybe a little motorsports preview in there, and we're going to see where this evening takes us. So, what did you guys end up doing over your holiday break?
Well, listen, let's start with this. A recent happening from recent memory. The other day, I was on a walk with my beautiful wife and child in the freezing cold weather. And I got a text, or actually my wife got a text from, oh my God, I've never said it in the podcast, from Tristan's wife. I've never said that on the podcast.
Ooh, yay!
Tristan's wife.
Dude, in March, it's going to be 6 months.
Oh my God.
Shut the front door. Jesus.
Oh my God. Time.
Holy crap. That did not
what
seem
is
like
time?
That long ago.
Yeah, no, that's insane.
Which is why I had so much trouble in accepting that my last haircut had been before the wedding.
6 months since his last haircut. He does have a mane, folks. Oh my God.
Eventually, we're going to bring video into this so everyone can see what we're talking about, but you can take our word for it. Tristan literally has wings coming out the side of his head right now, made out of hair.
Like the flying nun, or possibly the little Dutch boy.
Yeah, the little Dutch boy. Exactly that.
That's exactly. If he runs fast enough, physics just might happen and we could lose him.
So it's a biological impossibility, but we'll take the hypothetical.
Andrew.
Yeah, I was telling the story. So the wives got to talking, and apparently Tristan and his lovely wife were in peril. They were on
deadly peril.
Yeah, they were in deadly classic peril. So what happened was, at least from my understanding, they were going to rescue his dad's car from the shop, and instead they found themselves going to the shop.
A classic turnabout.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun. Tristan, before you dive into this, Tristan, quick question for the group: is there are there different degrees of peril? Like, do you need to say
Yes.
deadly peril?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can be in peril if you're about to stub your toe. That's is peril.
Small peril.
Minimal
versus
peril.
mortal peril.
Now, if you are
like no
about
caps,
to be
all
hammered
small
to
letter
death,
perils.
that's large. That's large peril.
Hammered to death.
Capital P peril.
Yeah,
Yes.
something. Mortal peril.
All capital letters peril is if a rock is about to fall on you.
All capitals peril sounds like it would be a hand sanitizer, though.
Peril.
Peril. I hate this. I hate this show. No.
Okay,
So,
anyway.
please, I don't want to tell it wrong, Tristan. Please tell the ladies and gentlemen what happened.
The car peed all over the place.
Okay, no, wait. Hold on. So, they were like literally 2 miles down the road from my house. So,
we were on the way from our house to the Volkswagen dealer to pick up my father's car. I believe it was in for just regular maintenance. We were doing him a favor, and in classic no good deed goes unpunished fashion, that was a $400 favor. So no, I'm kidding. That would have happened anyway.
Wow.
At some point, I'm glad that it happened to us instead of he was considering, because his car was in the shop, taking my wife's car to work. Oof, that would have been bad. So glad that didn't happen. But we were on our way to pick up his car from what I believe was just regular maintenance, and we were a couple miles from Andrew's house, and all of a sudden the dashboard lights up, air conditioning disabled because car is overheating, which that makes sense. And the thermostat is literally playing ping pong, back and forth. And Jessica turns to me. She's driving because I was going to hop in my dad's car when we got there and take it home. And so she's driving, she looks at me and she goes, "Do I pull over?" And I went, "Yes, right now." Because oil light and coolant, folks. Friendly consumer advice. Oil light and coolant warnings. Pull over right away. Otherwise, it's going to cost you even more money. So
do not pass go.
Yeah.
Do not accept your 200.
So we pulled over in a mighty cloud of steam. Looked like every time Richard Hammond drives a car in Top Gear. And
what, upside down?
No, luckily not that badly, but he does overheat fairly consistently. So I call AAA, and also I text Andrew, who is on Do Not Disturb because he's on a lovely walk with his lovely wife and lovely child, as he so rightly should be. Indeed. And I'm like, well, text Meg to add to Jessica. It's like, hey, you should text Meg, see if she answers. And she, of course, did, and mounted their second automotive rescue of Jessica driving somewhere. So now she says we owe you a meal.
I mean, I'll accept that. My question for you is this, though. However, as I took Jessica back to your house to get a different car to then do the original task. What she said to me was that after after the steam had somewhat evaporated, you opened the hood and said that it smelled like Halloween.
Yeah, it smelled like Halloween smoke. If anybody's ever used like a smoke machine to get that big white puffy smoke, that's propylene glycol, which is also a significantly high portion of engine coolant as well. And so it smelled like a Halloween party in there when I opened the hood. And to my own credit, I looked at it and the coolant bottle was dry, just totally empty. Oof. Except for a little bit of condensation. I was like, okay, I'm going to put my money on this being a coolant leak. Take it to the shop. We were right. Friendly word of advice to every automotive manufacturer ever. Stop. Please stop using plastic coolant system parts.
No.
I lost the same part on my A4 and at least one other car. It's a part that gets cold, gets hot, gets cold, gets cold, gets hot, gets cold, gets hot, and then breaks because it's under thermostress. Find something else. This car doesn't have 200,000 miles on it. It's not that old. It shouldn't be blowing out major cooling system components.
But profit margins, bro.
Well, in fairness,
we can't use another more expensive material.
It's also not technically a major component, just a major system. So when you think of it in that light, they did you a favor.
You should be thanking them.
Your brainstem isn't a major organ, Andrew. I'll break that, and we'll see how happy you are.
I mean, the piece of the grave.
Just a touch of the grave.
So is that Jessica's Malibu?
Cruise.
The Cruise.
Cruise.
Yes.
That's right.
And it is fixed. More than we thought it was going to be, because also they make all cooling system components entirely inaccessible without turning the car into its component pieces.
Yes.
So more expensive than we had feared, but was all credit to Madison Automotive in Wales. Dropped off overnight by the pickup by the towing man, and then called them in the morning and diagnosed by 10:30 a.m. repaired before they closed that day. I just couldn't get in to pick it up. So from broken to entirely fixed in under 24 hours. So
well done.
Pretty good work from the local mechanic. So that's the upside of this is I've got an early thank you for this episode. So
there you go.
2 of them. One
nice.
to Andrew and his wife, and the other to Madison Automotive. So,
please, my pleasure.
I don't have to do this later, right? I'm done.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, we'll skip you at the end of the episode. Don't worry.
No, I got.
But everything's. How long ago was this? Everything running good sense?
Yeah, literally, it was like the
2 days
day
ago,
before
right?
yesterday was when it broke. And
Oh,
then
shit.
yesterday
Okay.
they fixed it, and we picked it up today.
That just happened then. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Very fresh.
Andrew, did you have any car trouble over the winter break?
Did I have car trouble over winter break? I don't think so. Apart from the first day, it actually not snowed, but remember that it iced that one night. I had the most hellish nightmares drive of my entire life because I did not have the snow tires on my car.
Yeah, you and I were both driving on the same day, and I had my all season wear mountain rated tires and all wheel drive, and was like, "Dang, it's slippery out here." And he texted me back like, "Oh no shit, I almost died." It's like, yeah, you know what? I guess you're right. It's probably pretty bad out here.
It took me almost 2 hours to get to work, which is like a 12-mile drive, but in the most annoying kind of traffic.
Yeah,
And oh my god, it was unbelievable. Literally, from there's a hill on a major road that goes down. The cars around me started doing pirouettes, and I was just like, "Oh no!" And then I got around the corner, it turned onto another major road, and I could see the whole way was ice. And I was like, "Well, I'm not getting back up that hill, so I guess
so might as well just keep going."
The only way to go is forward at this point.
It was a mistake. It was literally a waking nightmare. Every single thing that could have possibly gone wrong that did not. I didn't hit anything. A lot of people around me hit a lot of other things.
If you didn't hit anything, did anything hit you?
No, also no, but not for lack of trying. It was literally a waking nightmare the entire time. I hated it. There was that. I don't think anything else really happened. Other than, that's what I was thinking. I just have to say that on the podcast. Like, I'm fully converted to the Church of the Winter Tire. They should be a mandatory legal requirement. They make that much of a difference.
Like in a bunch of those mountain states.
Yeah.
They do, but I mean, we get ice and stuff here too. So
I was gonna say a lot of times we have colder temperatures than they do.
So they just get a lot of snow.
Hey, we were what 2 weeks ago? We were colder than Antarctica.
Whoa!
There was that one day when it was like minus 17 in the morning. It was minus 9 in Antarctica that day. So we had them beat by quite a good margin. Now, to be fair, it is summer in Antarctica, but still.
That's a good point.
But still.
So 2 hours to go 12 miles reminds me of my trip to New York that I took for work, which I guess we'll get to in a second. But the reason I asked you, Andrew, if you had any car trouble is because I too had a spot of car trouble needing to get towed.
Spot of bother.
Yeah. With my my winter beater 97 Blazer, I go into the office for the first time in probably 2 or 3 months to go actually get some work done in the office, and I leave on the back of a flatbed. It's about 5:30, wrapping up the workday, walk out to the vehicle, open it up, lights come on, close it, everything's normal, turn the key, lights, radio, heat starts going, go to actually turn the ignition, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not a click, not a rev, not a ring, nothing. Take the key out, try it again. Same thing. I have all electric power. I have the heater is going, the lights are on, the radio is playing. Nothing when I turn over. Absolutely nothing. So, get the tow truck to come. Took him a while because he was on another job. I think he finally got there. No, so I got there at about 7:30 in the morning. I think at 7 p.m. is when the tow truck pulled up.
Yay.
And he goes, we can do this 2 ways. He's like, I could jump you. He's like, that's the cheap way. We'll try that first. And then if that doesn't work, we'll have to roll you up on the back of the flatbed and get you to the shop. So he, and then I said, well, you charge me now or you jump me now. And then I get to my garage and it's probably not going to start tomorrow morning. So, I mean, what's the difference? And he plugged, he plugged the detector on the battery and it had enough volts to turn it over. So we're like, okay, it's got to be a solenoid. It's got to be a starter or something that went. So yeah, towed back to Christie's Auto in Oconomowoc. Usually if anything that my dad or I cannot figure out, we take it to Kyle at Christie's and he handles it for us. And sure enough, that's what it was. It was a starter. It took probably about 6 days because he was so backed up with work, but now everything's running good. But 2 out of the 3 of us had some, what I would guess consider major car trouble since we last got on here and chatted.
When you asked me that at first, I was like, is he trying to catch me out? Did I have car trouble? And I don't know, and I don't remember it.
I just wanted to see.
It sounded like you were trying to like remind him of something that he told us, but
and even to this moment, I'm trying to remember. Like, was there car trouble?
No, I was just going around the horn to see if we had a full trifecta, but
no. Fortunately,
we did not. Fortunately, we did not. So, but yeah, everything's running smoothly now. Knock on wood. Won't have any more major issues here, especially not in the wintertime. Because even if it's something I can fix, it's miserable to go out in the garage when it's 4 degrees and try to change out parts.
Yeah, it's like you're sitting in, a full set of coveralls, electric heated jacket, winter mechanics gloves, boots, and you're still lying on a cold concrete floor, slowly seeping cold into the ground, out of the ground into you.
Yeah, it's
always fun.
Sucks. So hopefully no more major, if any issues arise at all, please wait till spring. Just miserable. What else is happening, guys? We've all had some sort of car trouble or scary drives.
Yeah, I'm just looking back through what's been hot on the Twitter at Check Engine Pod. Did we before we went on our break? Did we talk about the Integra revival?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did right?
Shortly. Yeah.
That's what I thought. My brain is melting over the continued coverage of this. Like, I just don't understand it. Road and Track headlined an article: 2023 Acura Integra's interior spotted looking similar to the Civics. You don't fucking say.
Considering it is a Civic.
What is the deal not to be Jerry Seinfeld about it, but what is the deal with people failing to comprehend the fact that even back in the day, they were the same car?
I don't know, man.
That's the end of it. It's not but it was, nope, the same car. Yeah, but no, the same
Still
car.
no.
But different badge, bro.
Maybe.
Still same now,
It's
but still
just,
same car.
It's just killing me. And I
the
know
B5 A4 and the B5 Passat were the same car, guys. Same car.
It just, and I know exactly how this is going to go when they finally get their grubby little mitts on this thing and be like, this drives a lot like a Civic, and I'm going to be, what? Why do you think that would be? Like
that GIF I sent you earlier today. The Nick Cage. You don't say.
The interior specs are surprisingly similar to the Civic. Can you imagine such a thing? Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do this? What segment of the population in our age range is so stupid that we have to approach this topic in this manner? What rose-tinted glasses are so dark that it becomes an impossibility to recognize that from the inception point of this car, it was the same as a different car?
I don't know, man. They need to put something out. You got to put content out every single day if you want to stay relevant. So even I hate it. You think the guy who wrote it or who the editor who published it was thinking the same thing Andrew was as he was doing it, but he just he knows he has to. Like, oh my God, this is the dumbest fucking thing. Publish.
But the way they go out, the shift knob for the 6-speed manual has the same metal finish as a Civic SI's.
Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so.
It just kills me. I really don't understand it. The dashboard shares much with... No shit, dude. Can we just not do this anymore? And
he just threw his phone, listeners.
Supra, and it's going to be the same thing with the next performance car crossover. The same thing with the heck's it called? The 86 twins. That surprisingly looks like the
86 BRZ.
Yeah, we know.
We can let you in on a lot of those secrets, folks. It even works in pickup trucks, the Silverado and the Sierra.
Oh my! Can you imagine when they discovered the similarities there? Oh man, I don't know why this annoys me so much, but maybe it's because I just feel like it's now a shorter loop. You know what I mean? That we're doing this now with every co-produced car. We just have to go back and forth. This is the same. This is different. Oh, wow. The logos are different. That's a different interior color. Oh my God. It makes me go insane. Stop. We know.
So timestamp at about 20 minutes. Tristan, for the first rant of the year, is he close to mid-season form?
Yeah, I'd say that
that was pretty polished.
A good showing.
Good. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Good showing.
You know, the East German judge only gave it a 7, but
I've been very sardonic on our Twitter over the past.
But he was paid off.
Yeah, exactly.
That judge was paid off.
10s from everybody else. Like the Olympic half-pipe snowboard final.
That's
judging
not
error.
A reference I get, honestly.
Yeah, that was one I missed, unfortunately.
They finally got it right, but the NBC announcer was losing his mind on TV.
Oh, really?
We're not a snowboarding podcast, but he was losing his mind on TV. Dude sets like a big air out of the pipe height record. Yeah. World record height out of the pipe, and does a trick that's never been done in competition before and executes perfectly second place on the second run. It's like, oh no, you're not as good as this other guy who, even to me, who is not a trained judger of the sport, went, well, that one's better than that one. They finally gave it to him on the third run, but it was like someone had to go into the judge's booth and smack them and like, what are you guys doing? Like,
What more do you want from this human?
Yeah, it's like, and it's like the guy on NBC was like, these judges just grenaded their credibility, blah blah blah. It's like, wow. Yeah.
Todd Richards is like the most chill dude ever.
That's dope.
I would love to see him go off, man. I gotta go.
Yeah, it was pretty good, but minus any kind of errors like that, Andrew. Yes, your rant wasn't good for him.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Again, it's very, very true. I actually hate this. It's not a rant for rant's sake. I really do hate this.
Okay, speaking of things we hate, I know we generally avoid talking about it because we just hate it, but literally the 2/3 of the stories that I get sent to me in the automotive news category could just be summed up under one headline: crap Tesla is doing badly.
Yup.
And just like, it's a little unbelievable. Like their full self-driving, safety video where they almost like clipped a guy on a bike or a pedestrian or something. It's like
that the full self-driving mode that rolled stop signs.
Yep, which is now a recall.
There's
literally there's an article that's literally just February 8th, windshield defrosting problems. February 4th, novelty boombox feature. 580,000 Teslas are recalled due to the boombox feature where it would play music and sounds and stuff outside the car, potentially obscuring their pedestrian warning system sounds. Like, that's a lot. 817,000 Teslas were recalled because the required alert sound that's supposed to go off when the driver hasn't buckled their seatbelt didn't work. Rolling stops, rear view cameras, and hood latch, suspension knuckle fractures, airbag tears, false forward collision warnings, loose suspension bolts. Like to pull something that you said off of Twitter, Andrew. Imagine if Tesla were a car company.
That is something I genuinely want to talk about. Just briefly, everyone imagine if Tesla at any point had been a car company. What would Tesla be producing if they had been a car company?
Probably something really, really fucking cool and useful.
Or something of meaningful quality. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Really,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's kind of it. And man, it's just, even as someone who works in technology, I understand that it is really bad to beta test on your customers. And it's a lesson that every type of technology has to learn at some point. If you look back through the history of hardware, software, firmware, throughout any sector of industry, they tried it. And they're doing it right now a lot with video games. It's actually, people are so lazy about video games, it's actually now common practice to beta test your games on your customers because no one cares and there's no regulation and it doesn't matter because it's just a waste of time. But when it's cars, and when you have such an insane workflow that does not involve the car, that the people who program your self-driving tech put in rolling stops, my friend, you have fucked up.
150% agree.
It just shows like you mentioned, like a disconnect between the people creating the technology and the people who are going to have to deal with regulations and the people who are going to be the end users of the product and everything else. And I think there's going to come a time, and I feel like this is a common thread that I have felt kind of, tugging out of a lot of these stories, is that a lot of these stories are being written by, car tech writers that own a Tesla, and I feel like they're running out of time.
What do you mean?
For a very long time, the Tesla fanboy was even more insufferable than, for example, the Apple fanboy. I think, you know,
Mm.
they're the Apple folks, myself
true.
included, are
That's
willing to really give it to Apple when something is unacceptable, and the Tesla fanboys were constantly making excuses and saying about not even, or even like this very diluted, like, well, no, it's not even an excuse, it's good that way, it should be that way.
Sure.
And a lot of these stories are like, yes, and I've had the same problem on my Tesla, and man, I'm about to sell the damn thing. Like tech writers who own Teslas, who probably are running beta software on their iOS device because they're a tech writer and they want to get all this stuff ahead of time, are done with beta testing Tesla's products. And it just feels like they're running out of rope that they're, that the publishing, news, blogs, whatever else is going to give them before they really start, tearing into them about how this is unacceptable.
But what is it going to take? Where's the inflection point? Because this has been going on for years.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like it's starting to wear thin, and we'll see when it changes. But there's been a lot more, negative press and not excusing or, diverting press, where it'll be like, oh, the Teslas do this, but regular car companies do this. And it's like, you don't see that anymore. It's just starting to take Tesla to task, and I find that interesting. So, like Electrek is posting an article about how he's, got some guy there about who was fed up with some feature of his Tesla. It's like, I'm surprised he hasn't been, doxxed and lynched by now.
I was going to say,
based on the readership,
mysteriously disappears.
Yeah.
So, got to carry that water. I mean, it's only for so long that you can truly, and I mean this in every very earnest sense of the phrase. There's only so long you can make a fucking asshole of yourself in public before it actually starts to impact your business. The whole fiasco with the Cybertruck, the whole problem with the Roadster thing, like, oh, it's going to have rockets, or you could put whatever
it'll fly. 100% it'll fly.
Gave Tesla a 100% interest-free loan on a car that, listen to me very carefully, this car will never be produced. There will be no Roadster.
Doubly so because they just lost their chief Roadster engineer to Ford.
That's what I'm saying. There's not a Roadster. I hope you got your money back. There's no Roadster at all.
And it's like flying cars. It's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
What else has he done? Oh, your brakes. You never have to change the brakes. Said that.
Oh my God. I forgot about that one.
That was from deep. I pulled that one from way back. Yeah.
But it's not even just the broken promises. Essentially what it is. I think that Elon Musk is a very useful idiot for a technology company. And I think he's proof of the concept that, you can do whatever you want as long as you achieve baseball percentages of success when you're rich. For example, Elon Musk essentially has a really, really good batting average with his predictions. He's about 200. Yeah,
200, 300.
Not an all-star batting average. He's
a good
low
one.
200s. I want to say he's like 210, okay. Maybe 190.
210, 220. Like, he can make a team.
He could make a team. He'd be in like the 6 hole.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like not anything. But eventually someone's going to pay attention. You're going to tell a big enough lie that enough people believe that it's going to cause problems, especially when you're doing things like pumping and dumping crypto, which they are absolutely doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you sell yourself as a tech entrepreneur and sell people on something like crypto, and then sell all of your crypto,
every single Bitcoin.
Well, guess what? You taught those people about that product, and now they know the game. But listen, I'm nobody. Maybe Elon Musk is a great guy. Maybe he's always been right about everything he's ever said. I don't know shit. I'm nobody. But
Yeah, man,
maybe
I don't
he's gotten
know.
some things wrong.
I think he's gotten a lot of things wrong.
Just maybe.
Also remember that
And maybe the interior of the Integra looks like the inside of the Civic.
It could, and no one would know why. There'd be no reason.
No, exactly.
Also remember that the only reason that Tesla is even a bit profitable is government subsidies. So like he's become a 100 billionaire with a company that can't turn a profit on its own.
Well, they have a lot of liquidity now or something. I don't know. I honestly stopped paying attention.
It's so crazy.
It just bothers me.
Anyway, hey, actually, Tristan, good point bringing the Integra Civic thing back up, because Andrew, I just want to put this out there for you and for our listeners to keep an eye on this. Okay, so we put on our Facebook page earlier this week an Auto Week article talking about the Civic, and here is the headline: "The handling is the star of the 2022 Honda Civic." So be on the lookout for Integra articles and reviews coming up soon that talk about the handling being the best feature. Just calling it right now.
It might happen.
Yeah. Why though? I don't get it.
No one could say. You know,
That's so weird.
The world, life finds a way.
Hey, they're all back for that new movie.
Yes, they are.
You know what? I just saw that ad last night. Jurassic something.
Dominion.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Jurassic World Dominion.
Oy vey. I don't think I'll stream it. I'll say it that way. I'll stream it.
Yeah, there you go.
In a couple months.
So here's something, guys. Here's one that So if I'm going to pose a question before I talk about the story. Here's how I'm going to intro this. If you have 5 cars stolen in 1 year, are you the problem?
Depends on whether or not you're buying the same car, right? Shirley?
Okay, sorry, 5 different cars.
Then you might be the problem.
And even if you're buying the same car 5 times, stop. You're still the problem. So
yeah.
There you go.
5 is a lot.
So Dateline January 29th. Actor Dominic Cooper, you may have seen him in the TV series Preacher, or I think he was in some musical as well. Anyway, actor Dominic Cooper has had 5 cars stolen from his home in the past year.
Possibly get a security camera.
Yeah.
Yes. So the latest car stolen was a Jaguar F-Type. He also has had an F-Pace stolen, a Ferrari Dino 308 GT4, a Range Rover, and a classic Austin Healey, all stolen. And he still keeps parking cars outside his house.
Get a garage.
Like, he's an actor, and if you can afford these cars,
money to buy all those cars, yeah,
I'm pretty sure he should have a home with a garage, right? You'd think.
You would hope.
Like, what's going? Like, I feel like if I had one thing stolen from me, I'd take a good hard look at some avoidable actions. Like, okay, this happened. How do we prevent that from happening? Or is it just I make so much money, I literally don't care? Oh, my Range Rover is gone. I'll buy an F-Pace. Oh, my F-Pace is gone. Maybe I'll get an F-Type now. Like,
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, the new cars are probably leases.
That's true.
I mean, it's
yeah, you know, if
you be like that,
if you play the odds,
yeah.
As I was told when I got my lease, if you wreck this, make sure you total it.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
I just thought that was an interesting one. Like, What the hell do you got to do to lose 5 of your own cars in a year? That's insane.
Man, sorry, I'm just browsing Twitter. The freaking the F1 championship stuff will just not die, will it?
Well, Lewis Hamilton just came back to social media this week. He went dark since Abu Dhabi.
Oh, okay. So it just has come up again, is what you're telling me, probably.
Well, so Lewis Hamilton has had an Aaron Rodgers-esque offseason now where they were contemplating whether he was going to come back or retire, because as soon as he left the track in Abu Dhabi, he just went dark on social media and like no one's heard from him.
Good for him.
But he came back. He's like, I'm back. And he posted a bunch of pictures and said, here's what I've done since the end of the season. So I think he just needed to recharge and reset. But yeah, people still won't let that go. Because the FIA is dragging out that they're still investigating the end of that. Like, what are they going to do? Like 9 months later, take Verstappen's championship away?
That's what I'm saying. That's what exactly what I was going to ask. So let's give this the most generous interpretation that perhaps they actually are investigating this with some kind of will to do something, and we have no idea what that might be.
Some kind of will to do something.
Well, as opposed to making it a show, that they're actually putting an effort into this. They're actually attempting to determine whether or not there was anything wrong with the way the drive-through call was made at the end of that race, which surely should be the focus of the investigation.
That's what they say they're doing.
Like that very small box. They're actually investigating that with the intent to figure out whether or not it was, I don't even know if fair is the right word, according to their rule book. That would be the most generous interpretation, that they're actually trying to accomplish something. Might it be that, well, I'll put it this way. What's more likely? Is it A, they're trying to wait for this to burn out? B, they're trying to wait for the next season to start and let it end that way? Or C, there are people on the investigation committee who genuinely believe that for whatever reason, Race Control did something wrong with the way they created that restart and allowing partial drive-throughs and whatever else it was. And they're genuinely trying to figure out what the hell to do about it.
That's not even like up for like a debate. Like per the rule book, they did it wrong.
Right, of course.
Like, period, end of story. So that's why I don't understand, like, what more evidence do you need? Like, you have the rules, the race director, like I said when it first happened, before we went dark for a couple of months, like, I applaud him for trying to decide a championship under green. I think as a race director, you need to let them race. But it was just poor execution. I think he got caught up in the moment. He's a new race director. It was his first year with doing this on the F1 level, and he just kind of gaffed when the whole world watching. The idea was sound. The execution was awful. And if you want to remove him from the post, then just fucking decide it already and do it. Like, we don't need to drag this out. I do think, Andrew, because this week they started launching their 2022 cars. Haas F1 launched their car. Aston Martin launched theirs. McLaren just launched theirs today as we're recording this. So I think a lot of the media attention is going to turn into, well, let's pick out the different pieces of the new cars and like, oh, the McLaren differs from the Aston Martin in this way and blah, 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 blah. And like, it's going to start turning that way. They really haven't had anything much to talk about since the end of last year. So they're going to keep bringing up that finish. So
that's true.
I'm really looking forward to getting on with this new season, just so that all dies down. Let's get cars back out on track and just see how this new car works. Like, I'm really excited to see how this works. Hopefully it's to the point where maybe they can do away with the DRS thing, because they can actually race close and pass each other in a quote unquote like organic, natural way.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that's coming up end of this month, I think, is the first F1 race at Bahrain.
Damn, that's quick. I mean, it's a little hard to believe that after everything, even half this controversy, that they would come back with the same race director. Like, that is so. Surely he has a little bit of a golden parachute. Like, you gotta get rid of that guy.
Yeah, it's like it's even
Right?
depending on like, even
Or at least
whatever.
reassign him.
Yeah, like
Some-
whatever outcome you choose, you can at least scapegoat this guy and like, yeah, give him the golden parachute. Like, hey, you're not going to be a race director anymore, but here's all this. Now get out of here and take the fall for us.
Well, I mean, people's champ Seb Vettel at the Aston Martin launch vehemently disagreed with one of because they asked him. The reporters were still asking the drivers, like those two drivers who weren't even involved. Like, it had no effect really on the outcome of their season, but they thought it'd be great to ask the Aston Martin drivers about their opinion of that finish. And Seb was very, very adamant that this needs to be looked at from a competition versus show perspective at the FIA level, and it's not worth just. He's like, we don't make Michael Massey the scapegoat. Like, what's been going on shouldn't have been happening. This is like a deeper rooted issue than just Michael Massey. So he's got one driver in his corner at least.
Oh man, I mean, wow. I'm just trying to think of. We gave it the generous interpretation before of that they're actually looking for something. What if they actually do something more than? Almost certainly they're throwing the race director under the bus. I feel like that's the least you could do for the sport in general.
But how long do you wait to do that? Like, are you gonna can him like the day before you travel to the opening race weekend and then drop someone? Like, if you're gonna do that, you've got to get the new guy in place or girl in place. Like, now you're 3 weeks away from the first green, lights out of the season. So how long are you gonna wait to do it if you're gonna make a change?
And oh man, that just like seems so small potatoes to me. Like, because I feel like you got to get rid of that guy, and surely you have other people like working alongside of him, so losing him even at that last minute wouldn't be too bad. But I'm just, God, what would happen in the world? I don't think they could take the championship, right? They'd never do that. You'd lose all credibility as a sport if you took the championship. What else would you do, though? I don't know. I was trying to think of some other thing they could possibly do.
Yeah, I don't know.
And because of the point situation, everything else in any punishment basically means Lewis would win retroactively. Like, there's nothing they can really do, right?
Yeah, and okay, just to add a little more to this, of course, with the McLaren launch today, they asked Norris and Ricciardo about the same thing. And according to the-race.com, Massey should stay, argue McLaren F1 drivers. 95 or 99% of the things he does are good. It's human to make mistakes.
Okay, we don't have enough information yet. We need to see more launches. We need to see more media training from the people who are in F1. That makes me think, all right, we'll revisit this. I need to hear more pre-rehearsed statements from F1 drivers.
Yes. On
coach statements.
Exactly.
On the happier side of motorsports, couple cool things happened with that we should probably shout out. One, former guest Ryan Eversley finally got himself a GT3 ride.
Yes.
He's running the Sprint Cup this year for Rick Ware Racing, which coincidentally was the same team that he made his NASCAR debut at Road America with.
How about that?
Yeah.
I've tried to tell people that in person, and God, it just makes me sound like Elmer Fudd.
What do you mean?
Wickware Racing. Because it's
it's hard.
it's so hard to say. You have to like slow down. Yeah, I got a seat with Rick Ware Racing.
Microsoft Sam it.
Yeah.
Yes. So good on Ryan. Best of luck. It's about time. It's about time that someone finally got him back in a GT3 seat.
Absolutely. That's going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be so cool. And I congratulated him. And then, cause he still got a partial TCR schedule as well in Pilot Challenge. So I asked him, I said, does that mean you're pulling double duty at Road America? And he said, probably not. And I said, well, good. Cause that means we'll still have time for a beer. And he said, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Look forward to it, sir.
Can't wait.
So that's gonna be cool. And then this just came out today. You guys might not have seen this, but our hometown team, Real Time Racing, is back.
Yes, nice. I did see that because I have news filters for them.
They're back in the SRO series, World Challenge, with their
go this year.
Yeah, it's August 27th.
That's right at the end of the season, right?
August.
I mean, how inconvenient last time that you had to,
have a baby,
have a major life event.
Yeah, well, it do be like that sometimes.
Yeah, so they are coming back full-time in SRO. So the team whose shop is just about an hour away from us is going back to take on some of GT Racing's best. So welcome back, Real Time. Look forward to catching all the action from you guys this year as well. Did anybody happen to catch any of that NASCAR race in the stadium?
No, I didn't.
I was actually looking forward to it and then didn't.
It actually wasn't terrible. And I thought it was an absolute 100% shit show.
It was only a 75% shit show.
It was maybe a 50% shit show. And I do really think that NASCAR might have hit on something here. This idea of, so people have been blowing up NASCAR. You need to go back to more short tracks. You need to go back to smaller tracks instead of these 1.5 mile cookie cutters, all that kind of thing. The fact that you can fit a short track inside a football stadium, there's not necessarily any bad seats in the house. They had DJs playing during cautions. They had all sorts of entertainment. They had entertainment at intermissions in between the heats and the features. So it was a different race format. I think most importantly, they reported and the stands looked pretty full. It wasn't a 90,000 sellout in the Coliseum, but I would probably say there was a good 55, 60,000 people there. It was probably 2/3 full. 70% of those people had never attended a race in person before. You want to talk about bringing in new fans? I mean, I think it was a pretty big success for NASCAR. It's too early to tell how good the new cars are.
Right.
They're one race in. The independent rear suspension seems to be having some issues when you put some stress on them. A lot of people were breaking rear suspensions, but we'll see how they figure that out. But I think overall, it was actually a really, really successful event, and they're already talking about what other ways can we do this. Is there other stadiums? Is there other venues that we could work a NASCAR event into?
It's interesting to see as much success that they had, as much success as they did in a kind of, I think, genuinely accepted to be rather sports apathetic market for the most part in
LA. Los Angeles.
And car apathetic for that matter. I mean, not to,
Yeah.
They're not a state that loves the car.
There is a pretty big hot rodding epicenter in Southern California. I don't know.
Yeah,
if it's in
true.
L-
And
it-
then lowrider and
I'm not
racing
saying
teams and
LA
all that,
proper, but down there somewhere.
right. I mean, that's Oakland essentially. Well, not essentially. It is Oakland. I mean, it's, you'd think that there would have been a lot more pushback just to have the cars there. Like it would have been a huge legal battle to do that, and didn't really seem to care that much.
Need to go dirt tracks. We need stock cars again. Blah blah blah. So what has NASCAR done? They put dirt on Bristol.
Yes.
Dirt race. They launched a brand new car that, although it is modernized and has more technology, is the closest thing to a stock car they've had in about 25 years.
Well, partially because it's modernized.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Been a stock car that looked like that functioned at all like a NASCAR in the past 50 years.
That's what I'm saying. And now they also just put on a race on a 1/4-mile flat track, a track so short that it can fit inside a football stadium. And all these people are also mad. The car sucks. No, not like that. Blah. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, they're literally doing everything you're asking, like you've asked them to do. And you're still mad. It's just, it's so funny to me.
I mean, it's definitely going to be one of those things where you're never going to please everyone. But my question with NASCAR is, and has been, and continues to be, can they actually attract new fans and then keep them?
Very small sample size, but the attract part seems to have worked in this instance here last weekend. The keep,
that's true.
The keep part of it remains to be seen.
And also, I mean, to my mind, I feel like there's a separation between, this sounds so asinine, but there's separation between people who will buy a ticket or watch a NASCAR race and people who are fans of the sport. You know what I mean? That sounds dumb, but does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
As much as, yes, we're a car podcast and it should be embarrassing to say, like, yeah, when they come to Road America, sometimes I go watch NASCAR. I don't consider myself a NASCAR fan, though, and I think that's exactly what you're talking about. And you're like, there are people who will buy a ticket and go see it if it's in their hometown, and there are people who watch it on TV religiously, every time it's on, and there's a pretty big gap between what those two types of people mean for the sport.
I think so. I think that's correct, although perversely it may in fact be the case, kind of like a football, that the people who are the casual fans or the people who are associated to businesses who, I don't know if there are luxury boxes at NASCAR tracks, but there's bound to be corporate seating somewhere. Those are the people who,
tents.
Yeah, exactly. Who spend the most money. You know what I mean? Sort of a reason like the Super Bowl is the worst game of football to go to because no one there likes football.
Right.
That kind of thing.
It's just, they're there to be seen.
Yeah, exactly. In the words of the Disney CEO, Bob Chapek, more favorable visitors.
Correct. More favorable visitors. Kind of cringy, kind of scary, but yeah, exactly that.
But kind of true.
And I don't know, because I mean, I kind of feel like NASCAR's in a bit of a weird position where they do need to do all this stuff. And I'm sure by the end of the season, this new car setup is going to be amazing. I'm sure it's going to produce ridiculous numbers, track times. Hopefully the racing is going to be tighter. But there's something about maybe it's just the straight up negativity like you described, Nick, from NASCAR fans. It makes it really unappealing to watch. Like, that no matter what they do, if they try to modernize, if they try to go back, if they try to respect tradition, if they try to ignore it, it's always going to sound like most of the people who love this sport so much are just bitching.
Yeah, it's almost like anytime anything new gets released from Star Wars, like all the fans are just going to bitch no matter what. So
I mean, you might be right.
Yes, I'll
See,
say yes,
that's my question.
But sometimes that's exactly what it takes to get rid of the old blood. Like I didn't love everything that came out in the past, 10 years with Star Wars, but I've liked a lot of it,
Mhm.
and it's been enough to keep me around. And so, I hopefully don't consider myself to be, a super toxic person, but you know, I feel like when you take a swipe at modernizing and changing stuff, you're going to cut the most toxic parts of the fandom first. And, maybe that's a positive. Maybe that's what they're going for. It's
Mhm.
like, hey, you know, guys who think they should still be doing this in, stock 1940s Fords, you know, go die already.
I was
We've
gonna
got
say start your own racing league, but or
yeah,
die.
it's like we've got new fans, and it's like, as much as there's been a lot of negativity about Star Wars stuff, it has never made more money.
Right.
And because
That's what I'm
there are
saying. Like they're still raking in the
people,
cash.
yeah, there's raking the cash because there are new people who like seeing new representations and new storytelling techniques and everything else. And there might be people who like to see cars with independent rear suspensions, and and want to go watch it at a football stadium where they can park in the parking lot, take a 5-minute walk inside, have concession stands right behind them, and they're not out at a racetrack all day, which is can be we've seen it. It can be a pretty grueling experience, even when you're
Mhm.
not walking around from viewing position to viewing position. It's
Right.
hot, it's sunny. You got
It's
to go
raining.
down
It's
8
always
million
raining.
steps to go get a hot dog.
I'm
Like,
drowning in
you know,
rain
yeah.
to this day.
So, it's something
To
that
this day.
to this day, something that pushing these new formats might draw in more new fans than you'd lose old fans.
That's
So,
probably correct, but I do think one specific error with the Star Wars comparison is the fact that that has been and will remain clearly for children. And that's the biggest thing about Star Wars, right? We happen to catch ourselves at a time where, unfortunately, people of our generation have failed to move past Star Wars, but ultimately, it's a franchise for kids. And NASCAR, I don't know, are sports for kids? Are we? I don't necessarily know if they are in the same way.
No, I would say no. I mean, I think I wouldn't say they're not for kids. I would say sports are for everybody.
Right. That's the tricky part. It's not like
it's
for kids.
not for kids.
Right, but it's a bit of a weird comparison, but I think you're probably essentially have the right of it making the comparison between essentially famous franchises.
I mean, all the difference
Yeah.
between those two things is target demo. Like,
Sure.
and
Sure.
in this case, NASCAR is making a play for younger people in a lot
And
of
non-white
ways
fans,
with a
frankly.
lot of this stuff. And yeah, not more diverse fan base in every way, age, ethnicity, everything else. And
Yep.
and I think that they know they're going to lose the hardest core of their old fan base probably in doing this, but they open up the taps on literally everybody else. And
they'd lose them to death, as you pointed out.
yes.
Sooner rather than later, anyway.
Correct.
To be completely honest, you're not wrong.
Yes, the new fans are more valuable because they're going to spend their money for a longer period of time.
Right. I mean,
if
we'll
you can
see.
retain them.
We'll see. I just maybe there's an element of a lot of things in NASCAR being too short term as well. Like I feel like it's almost a waste of time to pay attention to the first time they make a change, because the next time it's a little bit like the baseball thing. Oh, Brewers in first place. 3 days later, they're in last place. How many games did they play? 17.
Yeah, 17 games in 3 days. Wow. Yeah, it's
Whoa, what a valuable sport that it's worth investing my time into. No. And I feel like NASCAR is a
no.
little bit of that too. It's probably only because they do what they do like they raced 2 tracks twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean they're trying to cut down on that too and diversify their schedule a little bit more. That's why they brought in places like Road America and even Bristol. Like they race at Bristol twice, but one of them is on dirt. So
yeah, right.
This is totally different track. This is the dirt Bristol. Okay,
but I feel like
it does drive totally different, Tristan.
I know.
But yes, you're right. There used to be like 15 tracks that they went to every one of them twice, and that has long since gone away,
right.
Which is good. I can provide more insight in another couple weeks because I'll be at Daytona this following weekend here to see these new cars kick off like the real season for points.
Heck yeah, man.
Shit like that. So I can take a look at I think it's going to be interesting. Not obviously just the car is one thing, like how is the car going to race, but also let's look around and see what the atmosphere is like around the track. What is the fan base looking like? Literally, like, is it more diverse than when I've been there before? Yeah, who is there? Who's displaying? Who's got vendor booths set up? Is it just Bass Pro Shops, or is there more other things in there? Right, like, so it's going to be really.
Are they going to give Kyle Larson any run time at all for winning the championship last year? He wasn't even in the commercials.
Nope, probably not. They're still steering clear of that, I guess.
They really did poorly by him. They have done poorly by him.
Yes, they missed it big time.
They really, really, really did. When I was not surprised to not see him in the the little stadium trailer they've been showing during the football games. Mm-hmm. But I was like, wow, they actually did it. They actually went just right ahead and fucked over their champion. All right. That is a way you can go. That is a thing that you can do.
And they done did it. Smart. And they done did it.
What do they do if he wins again?
I don't know, Nick, maybe you can speak more to this because you're more inside NASCAR than I think Andrew and I, but from the outside, like, for as big a sport as NASCAR is in this country, you don't hear about it in the same, like everybody knows who wins the NBA championship, the Super Bowl, the World Series. Like, you hear about even if you don't follow the sport, you know who's playing in the World Series. Like, I feel like that's something that NASCAR doesn't do, and almost feels like they can afford to throw Kyle Larson under the bus because it's like, oh, last year's champion, whatever. Nobody cares anyway. Like I feel like nobody cares as much about who wins as like having the championship happen, because you don't yes, it's a notch on their belt, immediate ticket to the Hall of Fame because they won a race. It's
Dale Earnhardt Jr. Hall of Famer just got confirmed.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's like
but one Daytona twice, and his dad was really good.
You could pick even someone who's moderately tapped into some of the big stories, at least of NASCAR. Like Andrew and I, like, we see the news, we get it, it pops up on our feeds, it's in our Twitter accounts. Like, we're not entirely out of touch with NASCAR. But if you ask me, who won the championship 2 years ago, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I wouldn't be able to tell you the last one, except it's been such a big deal for us discussing on the podcast. Like, I feel like they need to make a bigger deal. Maybe they need a bigger ring or a different trophy. I don't know.
Bigger ring. That's a good point.
You raise a very interesting point. I think looking through the lens of auto racing in America, NASCAR is the big fish. But I think if you look in the sports landscape in general, outside of F1, auto racing is a niche.
True.
Like it's never going to get, well, it could, depending on the race, Indianapolis, maybe Daytona, could kind of tickle, just kind of do a little tickly action around what NBA ratings get. No one's ever going to touch NFL. Like,
no.
it's just, I think that's why, because outside of your NASCAR specific shows, which to the credit of the networks that cover motorsports, Fox has got NASCAR, NBC pretty much has everything else. Like, they do have specific shows tailored to it. It's not just showing the races and then being done with it. They have other programming and they try to do their part, but the only people watching it are the people who are watching the races anyway. So it's just a niche thing. You're not going to get the same exposure. I don't feel sorry for them, because if you're making it to that level, whether it be IndyCar, NASCAR, I mean, especially NASCAR, especially Formula One, you're making a damn good living. So,
I mean, it's not even about that. I just think there's something about NASCAR, and this has been just kind of a very general complaint I've had always about the sport. There's something about NASCAR specifically that makes it really, really hard not only to enjoy casually, but to like, or to tell people that you're a fan of it. And you see it reflected in everything that even tangentially mentions that kind of motorsport. Like, just look at the layout of the movie Cars. Look at every single caricature. Look at all of the visual they used for Lightning McQueen, like the whole layout of the story. That's what people think of NASCAR. And while it makes a pretty compelling kids movie, it's not something you can actually... It's hard to like. It's hard to like the accents and the mustaches, and it's hard to like the commentators, and it's hard to like the phrase slide job. It's
slide job.
Yeah, man. It sounds like buying a tin of Grizzly, dipping a Mountain Dew. Like, I don't know. It's just...
Well, I think that's what we had a really good discussion with Bozy on that when he was on last year, right? Because he does a really good job in his articles and the things he talks about, explaining that there are a bunch of really, really smart people in NASCAR. There are a bunch of really, really good engineers, and they're doing some space age stuff down there in Charlotte with those race teams. But then the people who present it to the general public are very much what you just said. Yeah. Got the Grizzly chew, and oh man, them boys down there, woo! And it's like, it's moved so far beyond that now, and the actual competitors have moved so far beyond that, and you're still clinging on to this thing.
Hey, do you guys know, Mr. Grizzly Do you know that
Grizzly Do?
Grizzly Do.
Do you guys know that they use math to make these cars go? Like, you feel like you don't want to even tell them.
Do you know that there's an engineer, like a legit engineer, on every one of those pit boxes working with a crew chief, right? Reading data.
I just don't even know if that's what it is. Like, maybe I'll present another possibility. Actually, we're getting to the age, I guess, where like the celebrities you loved and admired as a kid are starting to die, and John Madden passed away in December, like right after the big documentary,
literally like 2 days later.
Yeah. And man, I just have the best memories of John Madden commentary on Brett Favre,
which by no means is rocket scientist commentary.
That's exactly my point. So obviously what I'm about to do is something really, really stupid, because what I'm about to say is what NASCAR needs is a John Madden. And the problem with that is that ever since John Madden, the man, appeared on commentary, the only point of anyone doing color commentary has been trying to be John Madden, and no one will ever be John Madden, because that was just who he was.
Tony Romo, I think, has been anointed the new John Madden,
but he's not, because he's not remotely.
He's got a different shtick too.
Exactly, and
it's
and that's fine.
The great Karnak, Tony Romo with his crystal ball is his shtick,
or him going into the microphone a lot.
I know. But like,
am I the only one who doesn't like that?
I hate it.
I don't like Tony Romo as a person. Fine. I don't like listening to him commentate because I don't like to hear someone go
Right, bad,
into a
bad.
microphone for 3 hours. That's just not.
But
So let's do it into the microphone some more.
all right.
Ready?
But after John Madden
You,
passed
Tristan,
away, I
let's go.
watched
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
like a bunch of highlight clips of his. And there's this one clip, maybe you guys have seen it. They're at must have been like a Rams game at the time. They're in St. Louis. And they give him an outside shot. They send him an outside shot of a plane flying between the stadium and the arch. And John Madden is fucking befuddled. He's like, "What is that? Is that an airplane? Do you think that's a real airplane?" And he's like, "Well, what else would it be, John?" He's like, "I don't know." That's the craziest thing ever. He's like, absolutely, his mind is blown by this airplane. And or the clip of him like taking a turducken live on Thanksgiving TV and cutting it in half with his bare hand like a knife. Like you can't fake that. You can't imagine
Yes.
that kind of personality, that kind of genuine nature. And
John Madden was genuine. That's why everyone loved him.
And there's something about Hindhaugh does it too at IMSA races, right? He's so good to listen to. Everything, his reactions, his narrations, his flow, his commentary, it's so genuine and it's heartwarming and it feels good. You want that. You want to hear him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just nothing like that in NASCAR. There's nobody I want to hear.
They tried, whether it's football, whether it's NASCAR, commentators try too hard now, and they try too hard to have a shtick. They try too hard to be Madden, and or even like the good racing broadcasters from years past, who we also unfortunately lost, like a Bob Jenkins or someone like that. But they were real. They were genuine people. And like now everyone's trying to do that and it's fake and you can tell. Like it's that simple.
We need a voice in NASCAR.
I mean, fuck, I'll do it. I'll try. I'll give it a shot.
I mean,
if they're willing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just we need something. Give me something in NASCAR to latch on to that that has some longevity, that has some.
I think the other thing. It's going to be a really weird comparison, so hold on to your butts. But I think I have a lot of the same problems I have with NASCAR in one other sport: golf.
Golf.
Okay.
Yeah. There are big events, big famous names, but there are no, like in NASCAR functionally, there aren't really teams. Like, yes, that's a silly thing to say. Like, I know that the team structure exists. There's owners, there's fleets of cars, there are teams, but it's not like the team points. Again, at least maybe I'm entirely putting my foot in my mouth because I don't know how NASCAR works, but I feel like there might be like in F1, there's like constructor points and stuff like that where the team matters. Like your Ferrari is selling merch, and they happen to have good drivers that make the teams good. For me, I feel like that's something that, Andrew, you're talking about having something to latch onto. Like, it's all individual people competing in a sport, and if you don't like those people, there's nothing else. If you don't like the commentator and you don't really latch on to a driver as being like a huge fan of an individual driver, there's nothing else. Like if you're a football fan and you don't love your quarterback and you don't even know who your head coach is, but they're winning and it's your team that's winning, that's exciting. That's something to hold on to. And I think that's what NASCAR is missing, is that non-individual attraction, be it announcers, drivers, whatever.
Well, so you make it's a really interesting point, and I think there is a constructor's or like a manufacturer, like Chevy or Toyota or Ford can win a
Right.
manufacturer's championship. In NASCAR, it's not very widely publicized like they do in F1. And I do see people when I go down to Daytona, for instance, there's going to be people there with just shirts or hats with Chevy logos on them. And they're just going to be cheering for the Chevy team because they have a Chevy in their garage. So it happens. It's not like IMSA level.
Right.
Right.
But and I think, Tristan, that's where your, maybe, the fact that endurance racing with the multiple drivers makes it seem more of a team. Like,
Yeah,
you still have the crews,
multiple drivers, multiple cars.
You still have the engineers, but they're kind of behind the scenes. But like a team aspect comes in when like you see drivers getting out. It's like a player being subbed out and somebody else being subbed in.
Yeah, well, that's part of like the appeal back in my Le Mans heyday when you and I would stay up all night and watch it. Was that like
that's still my heyday, baby. I stayed up for all 24 at the Rolex a few weeks ago.
Like I was gonna cheer for all three of those Audi cars as a unit.
Right.
Like, I didn't care which one of them won, or if they swept the podium, that would have been amazing. Like, but I didn't care that it was Benoit Trillier as opposed to Alan McNish. Even though, like, I like Alan McNish, I think he's cool. But I didn't really. That wasn't why I was watching. I was watching to see how the Audi Sport team did.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's why I think we see the same with in IMSA, whether it's our favorite or not, but like Corvette racing, Cadillac in the prototypes, like you get people rooting for teams and manufacturers, depending on what level you're in. I feel like the higher the tier, it's manufacturers because it's the manufacturer run teams, and then when you get down into TCR and everything else, you're rooting for a kind of car or like a specific race team like Herta or something like that as you get further down. And it's not just like we love the people that we've had on the podcast, we root for them because we've met them, but I think that's a very unique situation for us. Like, yeah, I don't think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, no matter what they're driving, I'm going to cheer for, in our example, like Ryan Eversley. Like, I don't care what he's driving, I hope he wins. But I think that's a very specialized point of view from people who have been able to meet and hang out with those people and form attachments that way. How people form attachments otherwise is to the team or the manufacturer. And I think there's less of that in NASCAR.
So here's my counterpoint to that, Tristan. NASCAR got super popular. Well, one, the IndyCar split happened, which we don't need to go into that, but it was.
We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. It was Gordon versus Earnhardt. It was two people. It was a rivalry. It was F1's explosion of popularity in the United States is directly correlated to Drive to Survive on Netflix. When you can see the drivers, you hear their perspectives. Like so many new Daniel Ricciardo fans because he's such a happy-go-lucky, smiley guy. People want to see him do well. People form attachments to the people. Maybe you might be in a minority, and I understand where you're coming from because I do enjoy IMSA and the team aspect of it, or endurance racing in general. But for a casual fan, they need a story or they need someone to root for. Otherwise, they're not going to just flip on the TV and watch and hope for a good race.
Oh, I know, but then that's an issue of it's just a complete failure to brand. Because if you,
NASCAR's doing a good job of it. The Kyle Busch is the villain, except for Kyle Larson. They missed with Larson, but
if you had, for example, an instance of, that's a Kyle Larson thing, like a driver who came off a suspension. What's suspension for? That doesn't matter. For saying the gamer word. And, for example, if he were to win his championship, you might want to put him in your advertisement for the next season. for the first race. I don't. It just seems like a complete failure.
It's like there's no way to. I'm trying to find the way to say it. Like there's no way to pull people in. Like there's no like by default, like you live in this city, you root for the team from that. Even if you don't,
Right.
Your first introduction to that sport is, oh, I live here. I see that sign on the stadium. Let's see what that's about. In IMSA, you drive that car. Let's go root for him. Like my tastes have broadened, but I started watching that type of racing because my parents drove Audis, and I could go, I know what those are. Let's go cheer for them. And they also happen to be doing really well at the time, which
easy,
is a nice,
easy to cheer for at the time.
Which was a nice double whammy. But it was like, hey, that's probably what kept me. I probably would have been like, let's go take a look, and then they did well, so it was like, oh, let's keep going, But like,
right.
you that foot in the door, you don't meet the people until you start watching the sport, and I think that's something that they do a good job of that. But like me, again, I'm using myself as an example. I don't dig my head in the sand and never pay attention, but like, I don't know all these ins and outs of like who's the villain, who's the good guy, who's the underdog, because I just don't watch NASCAR because there's nothing that's pulling me in otherwise. Like we talked about it earlier with real time. Like if I didn't watch SRO, but I drove by their shop and saw an announcement that they're racing, and you can watch me on TV or come over to Road America and cheer us on. It's like, oh, let's go cheer on the local local cars,
about it, yes.
And it's like so it's it's the same kind of thing that NASCAR doesn't seem to have.
That's a good point. So maybe it's like two phases to it, right? Like there's got to be something else maybe about the experience that draws the people in, like to see it live, whether they try to play the noise or the speed or the action or the big one at Daytona, the crashes.
Stop it with the crashes. Oh my God.
It's going to happen.
Here, with the big one. Oh, I got to get the big one.
It's coming.
Pick a side. Fuck.
It's coming. It's coming. But
I know.
So maybe that, that's the top of the funnel, right? That's, the experience part of it. But now once you're there, whether you see a livery you like, or, a driver you think is cute, or whatever that reason is, now once you're there, that's the thing that keeps you coming back. Maybe that's the formula, right? Draw them in with the experience, and then let them then introduce them to the people and give them something to root for. Maybe that's the hook. I don't know.
Listen, we should probably spend an episode fixing NASCAR again.
Yeah, we can do that. They didn't listen to any of our other suggestions. So
let's give them some new ones.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, one more real quick thing on motorsports before we can move on and maybe wrap up here. But if y'all didn't see the Rolex 24 this year, I'm not going to tell you to go back and watch the whole thing because that's a big time suck. 4 of the 5 classes had really good battles all the way through. It was very entertaining, but just go find the clip, the 5-minute clip for the last maybe 3 minutes of the race, the last 2 laps, the battle in GTD Pro for the win between the FAF Porsche and the KCMG Porsche.
Damn.
Unreal. After 24 hours, it was literally passing each other, banging doors, bump drafting, all this stuff on the last lap. 24 hours after they started. It was both drivers, absolutely amazing job. Like,
hell yeah, man.
It was like the end of those races is kind of like I'm laying on the couch and I'm kind of nodding in and out, like ready for the checker to drop so I can just go to sleep. Right. And then that happens. And now my adrenaline's pumping and I can't sleep the rest of the day. So now I'm going on like 36 hours instead of 24. Like it's like, I'm happy, but then I'm like, damn it. Now I'm not going to be able to sleep. But yeah, seriously, just go look up GTD Pro Rolex 24 on YouTube or whatever. Andrew, Tristan, listeners, and go spend 5-8 minutes just watching that battle. It is incredible. There, we can move on from motorsports. We talked about that stuff enough.
Well, I mean, not to pull the curtain back too far, but this is our second half of our recording. So we should probably end here before we create a 2-hour episode.
Yeah, we should probably get the people out of here. We're just so excited to be back on the microphones. We got to tell ourselves to stop and remember that we can do this over and over and over again. So
That's right.
Before we take off real quick, Andrew, you already mentioned Twitter at Check Engine Pod. Look us up on Facebook. Search Check Engine Podcast. Tristan, where can they go on Insta?
Also at Check Engine Pod.
There you go. So be sure to like, follow, share, post, DM, reach out how and when you can. We've actually got a really good episode idea from a listener message that we're going to bring out for you guys, debut later this spring. So stay in touch for that. Like, we do listen. So yeah, get in touch with us. Let us know what you like and what you don't like. And then, as always, thank you for sticking with us today and throughout our break. Welcome to our 2022 season. We appreciate you listening. As I said, we want to hear from you. Find us on the socials. Be sure to, whatever platform you're listening on, leave us a review, preferably a good one, and or smash that subscribe button, as the kids say now. Smash the bell.
Smash.
It's free, and you'll get notified of any new content we put out. If you're really into what we're doing and would like to support us monetarily, we still have 2 options for that. Patreon.com/Check Engine Podcast, or on our homepage at Anchor, there is a support button there as well. So anchor.fm/Check Engine Podcast. Find that little support button at the top near the logo. Every cent pledged is put towards making this podcast a better experience for you, the listener. We are working on some potential other mediums for the show that we may or may not bring out later this year because of the donations and the pledges. So thank you in advance for that. Tristan, I'm going to skip over you because he already did your thank you. But
We said he had another one, though.
Oh, you had another one? Okay. So who or
Yes.
what are we thanking before we get out of here?
I can't decide if it is a thank or what we joked about, like the anti-thank in our previous season.
Anti-thank.
But I'm gonna have to at least start with thank, and maybe it evolves into an anti-thank. For there is, in the lovely village of Menominee Falls, there is a place called Dave's Hot Chicken.
Sure.
And I would like to thank them for bringing this food to this area. Because, man, I didn't know I needed to live within 45 minutes of hot chicken, but I do. And that's why it might turn into an anti-thank. Because I don't need to live within 45 minutes of hot chicken. So, at least hot chicken this good. So,
Nice.
Thank you, but also no thank you, Dave's Hot Chicken. I will be back, and I won't like it, but I'll like it anyway.
Do they have a chicken sandwich?
They have sliders and tenders and mac and cheese.
Wow. It's heaven.
I'm just
And
wondering
the
if we should
tenders
know.
are like the size of a chicken breast. They're just immense.
So they basically just breaded a chicken breast.
Yeah, I looked at the menu and went, I can definitely eat more than 2 tenders.
Nope.
No.
No, you can't. The reason I asked about the sandwich is I'm just wondering if we should notify Sean Heckman for next time they his
I don't know if he does
podcast rolls.
spicy, does he?
They
don't know.
have 0 spice options.
Ah, okay. Well, there we go.
Maybe we should let him know.
So
I'll let him
the sliders are very good. I had the tenders, but several people I was with had the sliders, and they were also apparently top notch. So thank you, Dave's Hot Chicken, for taking the gamble and moving to a very far north, very white state. There's certainly a very white part of the state in Menominee Falls, and taking a risk on people who appreciate your no spice option because they can't handle it. I saw so many people crying in that store. It was awesome.
I'm intrigued. I may have to go check it out now. Andrew, who are you thinking, or what, or anti-thinking?
I actually am genuinely going to thank John Madden for his ability. And after he passed away, I watched all the documentaries that they had on him. The All Madden one is incredible. Like, really a really interesting format. where they present the documentary to him saying, the things that people said about him for the documentary to him and his reactions. That's completely incredible. But there's also one made, I want to say a year or two ago, might've been like 19 or 20. And one of the first things he talks about in that is, when he was just starting out in coaching, he went to a coaching seminar taught by Curly Lambeau. And he said Curly Lambeau that day talked for 8 hours about one play. And John Madden said, it was at that point that I realized I didn't know anything about football.
I didn't know anything about football.
And this was after he played in, high school and even done some coaching. He said, at that point I realized I didn't know anything. He talked for 8 hours about one play.
Damn.
And you have to...
Plays weren't that complicated back then either. It's
no,
not
no,
like there was a bunch of motion.
It was a power run. It was power left. It was power run left. 8 hours. Curly Lambeau talked about power run left. And I think that John Madden, for all of the bluster that he seemed to have on the air, I really admire the fact that his whole life he strove to be the authentic article because he knew it was the right thing to be. He said when he retired from coaching, I'm retiring from coaching and I will never coach again. And he never coached again.
And he didn't. Yeah. Yep.
And it's such a simple thing, but I don't think you can actually stick to that unless you are the genuine article. And he was a tremendously successful coach. Remember, he has the best winning percentage of any coach to have ever coached in the NFL,
including
and he
Belichick.
got offers. Better than Belichick, and all this. And I think that's it's easy to get lost in the meme of Madden, right? Because, what's his name? The comedian did him on Fox News for 20 years after he retired.
Frank Caliendo.
But
Great
behind
impression.
all that, that's what's often missed about Madden and people like him. What he did there, the boom and the ba and all this was 100% real. And there's nothing you can say about a man like that because that's just who he is. What are you going to make fun of John Madden for cutting the friggin' turducken with his bare hand? Try it.
Yeah.
Try it.
You can't.
And even if you did find a way, so what? That is an ideal that everyone should aspire to, I think. The genuine article, the real thing, be that. And it's so rare. And thank you to John Madden for being that.
Amen. Man.
And well said.
Shit. I don't know how I can follow that up. I was just going to thank my mechanic for getting my Blazer running.
Hey man, that's what it be.
He's also the real deal, and he's a real good mechanic.
There you go.
Thanks Kyle from Christie's Auto here in Wisconsin for getting me back up and running. And thank you, listeners.
Yes,
welcome back. We've got a great year in store for you, so keep listening. We thank you for your support. We love hearing from you. We love recording this for you. We cannot wait to speak to you again. Until then, take care.